Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Chall, and today Chall chats Arsenal 5, Crystal Palace nil. But don't let the scoreline take away from the overall performance. And I'll tell you what I mean by that in a second, because I'm going to look at it from both ways. From a Crystal Palace perspective, a demolishment by their standards, and wow, I mean, the banners that came out towards the end of that game. We will share a screenshot of that because I did take a screenshot of it, and we'll share that on screen as well. And yeah, that image at full time of Roy Hodg or around about full time of Roy Hodgson just staring towards that corner where the banners were, and that shot. I mean, that's going to be on the end of season montage, whether he gets sacked or not. That's going to be on the end of season montage. That was a moment from the Crystal Palace fans, and it's clear that frustrations have boiled over. And the next home game should be very, very interesting for the Palace players, for the Palace fans, and for the manager, whether that be Roy Hodgson or someone else. But before we get started with this video, guys, make sure you do keep tuned to the upcoming content by clicking the notification bell, subscribing if you are new around here. We are on the road to 3,000 subscribers and 500,000 views. We are pretty much halfway between 2.2K and 2.3K. So we're getting there. Let's keep going with that as soon as possible, please. Right then, upcoming content. We've got something coming up this evening, hopefully. There'll definitely be something coming up this evening at some point. We're going to be talking about the Reading situation tomorrow with Dave from Sell Before We Die. So that'll be coming up tomorrow. We've got plenty more Premier League action coming. We've got the Royal Rumble at the end of the month. It's going to be very, very jam-packed in terms of upcoming content. But for now, guys, let's just show you exactly what's been happening today. Arsenal 5, Crystal Palace nil. Now, I said at the start, don't let the scoreline or the result fool you from the overall performance. Some Arsenal fans will be ready in the comment section going, what the hell are you talking about? We just won 5 now. I'll sum it up briefly and then talk about some individual moments in each half. So, and I'll be as fair as I can. I'm not going to slate anyone. I'm not going to slag off anyone. I'm going to be as fair but as constructively brutal as possible, but constructively, not personally. So, in the first half, two set pieces, 2 goals. Apart from that, I think after the first goal, Arsenal sat back a lot. The only thing was Palace didn't have enough quality in the final third. Second half, again, 3-0, and then 4, and then quickly it became 5. The attacking play was better in the second half than the first half. There was still 1 or 2 Palace players that were doing something today. But for me, the biggest player ratings, if we're going to do player ratings today, which we're not, but if I was giving ratings, the biggest ratings would go towards the defensive players rather than the attacking players. Martinelli off the bench was good. I think Ben White had a good game. I think Odegaard took too many touches sometimes. I think Saka had another poor game, in my opinion. Yes, he made some great forward runs, but again, he was either getting stopped or blocked or misplaced pass, or just nothing really came off for Saka in that game. Just nothing really came off for him. And he had a full 90 minutes again. And I kind of, question whether Saka might need to maybe have a rest one game. Maybe the Nottingham Forest game, he gets to go on the bench and then Trossard and Martinelli start, on either side together. So I would look at maybe resting Saka for the next game. I don't think he did a whole awful lot, but fair play to him. He's risen up to the criticism he's received from some Arsenal fans. He's received praise from Arsenal fans, but he's also received criticism from Arsenal fans. Fair play to him, rising up to it and, try and improve performances because that's what a good player does. So I give my respects to Saka. Let's see what he does to improve his game going forward. But I think currently in this current run of form for Saka, I don't think it's been the best in his career, if I'm being brutally honest. Like I said, Martinelli off the bench was scarily good. Great assists, great through balls to Martinelli for the 2 goals at the end. I think the Palace defense just opened up after the 4th and said, you know what, have a 5th. But I'll be honest with you, apart from the 2 Martinelli goals and obviously the 2 set pieces, which were good set pieces, proper good set pieces that you couldn't really defend much against. I don't think Arsenal's attacking play was as good as the scoreline suggests, if I'm being brutally honest. And I see the reaction on social media already. People think the title challenge is back on. I'll just take, from me looking at it from devil's advocate perspective, I will just take this victory as a great win. Good to get 5 goals on the score sheet, but it wasn't a 5-goal game. In my personal opinion, it felt more like a 2-3-0 rather than a 5-0. There's a couple of times where Palace could have had a goal themselves, but again, there were probably half-decent chances. I think Eze was probably their best player. I think Eze is a very technically gifted player, and he's got the physicality to match with that experience in the Premier League now. So Eze, for me, no disrespect to Palace, I think Eze might be out of the door in the summer. I wouldn't be surprised if Eze might be out the door in the summer, along with a couple of others as well. David Ozo getting minutes again off the bench, 18 years old, Premier League experience now. Seems like he's really getting of age in this squad. But the conversation from the Palace perspective needs to be had about Roy Hodgson. Look, don't take anything away from Roy Hodgson. Legendary football manager in this country. Legendary. He's got this plethora of experience. Some of it great, some of it not. But he's done nearly everything in the game in terms of different emotions, different experiences, clubs in different situations. You know, think back to when he was Fulham manager. He kept them up on the last day of the season of the 07-08 season. And then 08-09 books the passport for the, what was it called? I think it was the new Europa League at that time. I think they finished in the Europa League or just outside Aston Villa. So under Marcin O'Neill. So Roy Hodgson's experienced the highs and the lows of the game, went to Liverpool, brought in a few players, didn't go right, got sacked, and he got replaced by Kenny Dalglish, who of course received his Outstanding Achievement Award at Sports Personality at the end of last year. So congratulations to Kenny. Went to West Brom, managed England. We know about the Iceland game. We don't want to remember the Iceland game from 2016. And that whole Euro campaign, in my opinion, not just the Iceland game. So he's experienced the highs and lows of the game. He's experienced getting the team into Europe. He's experienced relegation. He's experienced the lows of the international scene. You know, when you get the fans singing "You're not fit to wear the shirt" to the Three Lions players, when you've got St. George's flags being thrown on the pitch, tickets being thrown on the pitch, shirts being thrown on the pitch. He's experienced the highs and lows. And that right there at the end of that game was an all-time low for Roy Hodgson, standing across to that away corner with the Palace fans were with that banner. And you know what? This is a good time as any to put it on screen. So I'll put it on screen for you right about now. Fan Davidozi. So right there in front of you is what was said. You might not see just the top, cropped at the top of the screen, but you might just be able to read it out. But for those of you who can't see it, I'll read it out for you. Wasted potential on and off the pitch, weak decisions taking us backwards. That was what was said in the banners by the Crystal Palace supporters. I'll read it again. Wasted potential on and off the pitch, weak decisions taking us backwards. Now, there is a sort of controversy in terms of who that was directed to. Was it directed to just Roy Hodgson? Was it directed to just Steve Parish, or was it directed to both Roy Hodgson and Steve Parish, of course, the chairman of Crystal Palace? I think the banners from where I'm sitting is probably directed at both. When we think of the writing again, wasted potential, talking about the team with the young players they've got, thinking they're being wasted in terms of the style of football they're playing, with the way of playing they can play. On and off the pitch, so again, reference Hodgson and Parish. Weak decisions could be tactical, could be substitutional, could be boardroom related, taking us backwards as a general summary. That's how I'd analyze each individual line of that. And I don't think I'm not too sure how many people have actually done a mini analysis on a banner, but I've just done that. So I'll curtsy and take my credit for that one. But no, in all seriousness, it was a very much a judgment day moment for Crystal Palace. And if they don't use the last week or so of this window to invest in a couple of strong quality players, And don't forget, you've got Michael Elise, who's linked to a move away to Manchester United. You've got Emirates Stadium, who's a quality, physical, technically gifted attacking player who's going to be linked to a move away in the summer for sure, especially if Palace ended up finishing that relegation zone. Depending on what happens with the points deduction charges again with Everton and potentially Nottingham Forest as well. It can cause something of it's caused some kind of a boil over. And I think the judgment day was the end of that game when you let in a fourth, when you let in a fifth against an Arsenal side whose attacking players didn't really have an exciting game today. Yes, they scored 5 goals, but Arsenal, for me, weren't that exciting. For me, I think it just got gradually better as the second half wore on. But I think part of that is because Palace ended up giving up at the end. So for me, I don't think it was a vintage Arsenal performance. I think they scored 2 great set piece goals, 2 great Martinelli runs from 2 great balls over to that side, and great runs by Martinelli to create the finishes. And for me personally, I don't know. For me, it just didn't feel like a 5-0. It felt like a 2-3-0. With 2 great set pieces added onto it. So for me, I don't think. Listen, I still have worries about Arsenal going forward, but that result could do the squad some confidence. But in no way, shape, or form am I going to sit here and say that Arsenal are back in a title challenge. Because I said at the start of the season that Arsenal were never going to be in a title challenge this year. I said that this was City's trophy to lose. And yes, the run of form wasn't great for City at one point, but they got KDB back. They're getting the results back, and it's going to come to a point in time where City or Liverpool are going to win this league this year. And I've said that from day dot. I said City will win the Premier League this year, but looking back, I also wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool are up there as well. I think Villa could be in the top 4 this year, and I'm not going to make any debates about that. I think the top 4 is the top 4 now: City, Liverpool, Villa, Arsenal. Unless Spurs have a good run of form, Newcastle have a good run of form, United fix up some issues here and there. They could scrape it, but I really don't have confidence they will. Chelsea won't finish in the top 4 this year at all. But lucky to finish in the top 10 this season. So yeah, for me, I just don't think Arsenal are going to win the league this year. I'm happy to be proved wrong throughout the rest of this season. Don't get me wrong. If Mikel Arteta wants to win this league, he's got to go out and he's got to get what he needs to get to bring into this squad to make it better and improve what they've got already. But right now, it's not looking like they're going to do that. It looks like they're going to appoint from within. Look at the younger talent. Look at the players they've already got and keep working with them, which can cause debates among the Arsenal fans. It can cause a right division in terms of where's the investment going to stop and start and where's the improvement going to stop and start consistently week in, week out to create the runs of forms that City have in the past, Liverpool have had in the past, and that Arsenal had last year for the majority of the season before it all fell apart at the end of the season last year. So, and these type of runs that's going to create champions. So, I mean, there was a fan at the beginning of before the game on TNT Sport that said he thinks Arsenal are going to win the Premier League and the Champions League. With all due respect to that guy, I don't think they're going to win the Premier League because you've got City and Liverpool who are going to be the top 2 at the end of the season, in my personal opinion, unless something drastically U-turns. And then Champions League wise, you've still got some quality European teams in there that are going to absolutely dominate the semi-finals and the finals. So for me, I think Arsenal will get 3rd or 4th. I think Arsenal will get 3rd or 4th in the league, and Champions League wise, they may get a semi-final depending on the draw. I just don't think Arsenal have got it in them to reach the final of the Champions League. But again, I'm happy to be proved wrong. But saying that, like I said, 5-0, it flatters Arsenal a little bit, but it's good to see 5 goals on the score sheet. But for Palace fans, one to forget for sure. And it's definitely come to a bit of a judgment day in terms of the Roy Hodgson situation and the investment, or should fans say lack of investment, according to them, over the January transfer window. And we'll try and do a video at some point with Crystal Palace fans, just kind of learn more from their perspective. We spoke to Eagle Eye Football before the Everton game, before that finished, obviously 0-0. We had the replay where Palace lost 1-0. And, we're going to try and do some more Palace videos at some point, just to try and get a bit more perspective as to what happens. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll try and get an interview with Steve Parish at Crystal Palace at some point. So it'd be nice to have Steve Parish on the channel at some point. But that is going to be it for this video, guys. Arsenal 5, Crystal Palace 0. I'm not getting ahead of myself. Arsenal won't win the league this year. They won't win the Champions League this year. However, I'm happy to be proved wrong. But right now, after that performance, it didn't feel like a 5-0. It felt like a 2 or 3-0. And that's not being disrespectful to Arsenal. That's just being brutally and constructively honest. But there we go, guys. Thank you very, very much for watching this video. Make sure you do like, comment, subscribe. And for now, I'm the CHALL. Ta-ra for now.